The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Howdy, folks. Alright, let's try that one more time. Hopefully without any stupid gaffes or 10-minute ramble fests. So, over the weekend, I did another Secondhand Schmecondhand trip where I was checking out various places looking for used games and stuff, and went to that same store with the blockbuster bags that I've been going to and getting some somewhat decent deals on this time. I've learned a few things about our friends at this store. First and foremost, it appears they flat price by title regardless of condition, which explains why they have such ratty inventory, because anything they have, no matter what condition it's in, if it works, it sells at the same price. So that explains quite a bit, actually, of some of the issues that I've been having with them. Now, the interesting thing here is that if they ever get any good copies of stuff, people are pretty much going to pick them clean, because it's the same cost for the good-looking stuff as it is for the ratty stuff. So that's where, and that's also a bit of a double standard with them too, because they don't accept discs that are too scratched up. So cartridge stuff will be ratty as all heck looking if it plays, and then disc-based stuff is probably going to be somewhat decent. Anyways, last weekend's trip I picked up mostly Nintendo stuff this time around, and did moderately well, although there was a bit of a rip-off. I'm thinking that maybe these folks try to get more money out of newer systems than older ones. So anyways, I already recorded this once before, but the video was a total disaster, a clunky, basically a mess, and there was a little bit of a gaffe in there that really would have gotten my dad kind of mad at me. So let's redo this sucker. And let's talk about what we picked up last weekend. So, blockbuster bag once again. First is my first restoration project, Pinbot. Now, this game, believe it or not, this ratty-looking cartridge was the best of them, although I've already cleaned up quite a bit of it. When I got it, it basically had a lot of dirt all over it, and somebody wrote their name on the side. So, thanks, Mike, what's his name, for writing your name to make sure that you didn't lose your cartridge when you were actually. My dad, before he met my stepmother, was dating this lady back then who had a son who was a total brat, and we used to have to write our names on our Atari cartridges so we'd know whose was whose and stuff like that. So writing names on games, not something I haven't seen before. But Pinbot is a game that I used to play over sitters' houses back in the day. Didn't have it in my childhood collection, but liked it. And yeah, there is I believe on the PlayStation 3, there's a pinball-type Renaissance collection-type game that has Pinbot, the machine, represented on it. But the NES version of Pinbot actually took some liberties with the material, and it was an interesting experience, to say the least. Unfortunately, this game has suffered some fading and sun damage and some chemical damage as well from people trying to clean it, but yeah, short of repainting it, I don't think that'll work really well. And there was a problem I've noticed. With every single cartridge in the store, there was a problem with the labels on just about all the Pinbot games. They all looked like there was plastic coming loose, so I tried to peel the plastic off, and it took some of the label off too. So this cartridge looks like it'll be a good replacement label candidate if I get the Xyron sticker machine. But yeah, Pinbot for the NES. Nice game. Unfortunately, it looks like maybe there was a manufacturing issue with the labels back in the day, so I got this, and it was all crinkled up like it had water damage and stuff, but in reality it was just the clear coat on the label coming loose in various bits and pieces. So I peeled it off, or at least tried to, and that's why the label looks so horrible. Great candidate for a replacement label. Up next is another classic from my childhood that I'm reacquiring, Tetris! Already reacquired the Game Boy version of this, and now here's the NES version, although with some label damage. Although they all had a little bit of label damage, but this one cleaned up quite well. Got some scratches on the cart and a few things here and there, and this label on the back is loose, but again, if I ever want to mess around with replacement labels, yeah, sure. But the minute I went to pick up this game, even though I'm more of a fan of the Game Boy version than the NES version, I think I've seen the Tengen one too. The Tengen one looks kind of neat as well. But I basically had this as a kid, so I'm reacquiring it. I just got to do something about this label here, and maybe this cartridge would be a good replacement label candidate, but the rest of the label's in pretty nice shape. It's nice and shiny and everything, and it's not suffering from whatever happened to Pinbot over here, but yeah, you can actually clean this label too without the label's plastic becoming more and more loose, so I'm thinking manufacturing issue with Pinbot. But I went to get this, and the girl who works at this store on the weekends, she reminds me an awful lot of the girl I went to the prom with when I was in high school. She's got the same nerdy kind of personality, somewhat shy, goofy sense of humor and stuff like that, but the minute I walked up to the counter with this, she was just like, "Oh, I love Tetris! I just love Tetris!" And I'm like, I'm thinking, oh man, you know all those stereotypes back in the day about girl gamers only play puzzle games, quote unquote. What's the deal? I mean, I don't know if she's trying to support them or whatnot, but I actually had a sitter who was like that too. The sitter who introduced me to RPGs when I was little. She played nothing but RPGs and puzzle games. Yeah. PC, NES, and Super NES. Yeah, anyways. So Tetris could be in better shape. I'm thinking maybe I should quit trying to find stuff from there to fill up my rewards card, because I know that JJ Games and some of the other e-tailers have better copies of cartridge games around that I could pick up. So Tetris, it's a game that I never thought I'd like, but I wound up playing a lot on the Game Boy, and of course in significantly better shape, Tetris 2. In significantly better shape, we have Tetris 2, the NES version, which I am not familiar with. I played the Super Nintendo version as a rental, but never played the NES version, so since this is in very good shape, it's in almost as good a shape as a Nintendo World Cup. With how good of condition this cartridge is in, it could pass as one that I've had since childhood, so of course, day one buy right there, except for a little rip on the label back here, and what's this bilingual label? Was this a Canadian cartridge at some point? Yeah, NES, USA, Canada. Or is this just a late-era NES label? 1985. Maybe it's just a late... Because Tetris 2 was a late-era NES game. Maybe this is... Oh, no, 1985. Maybe this was a Canadian cartridge at one point. I don't know. Or maybe I should quit assuming that everything bilingual is from Canada. Yeah, well, now before I go ticking off all the Canadians that watch, all 2 of them... among my lovely little audience of 10, or whatever it's up to these days. Yeah, Tetris 2, figured I'd pick up the sequel, plus it's in great shape. And lastly, something a little more recent that the whippersnappers may recognize, although maybe they have to be my age to recognize it. Finally, another PlayStation 1 game, Destruction Derby 2 on the PS1. Now, I have Destruction Derby 64 on the Nintendo 64, but this looked interesting. We can chalk this one up as yet another game that I have because of Classic Game Room. I went looking for it on YouTube. Hey, what are the other Destruction Derby games like on the original PlayStation? Oh, here's a Classic Game Room video about the PS1 version of this game. Got the disc, not a lot of scratches and stuff. Hey, look, the ceiling! It's stuff like that. Unfortunately, this game is so old from the PS1 that it doesn't actually have any analog controls. It actually uses the D-pad on the PlayStation controller. I'm running this through the PlayStation 3 so I can apply smoothing to the otherwise jaggy-ruined, jaggy-infested PS1 graphics. Now, as much as I've had trouble with the anti-aliasing on the N64 over composite, the PlayStation 1's jaggies, bleh, yuck. Definitely got to smooth those out with the PS1 smoothing option on the PS3. Interestingly enough, the original Destruction Derby is a PS1 classic that I can buy off of the online store if I don't want to have to take care of a disc or anything. But yeah, so. Anyways, so Destruction Derby, Tetris, and its sequel, and Pinbot. Made for an interesting pickup. Now, question is, how did I do that weekend? So let's begin with what's essentially our rip-off of the day. Destruction Derby 2 gets me thinking that maybe they try to make more money off of more recent systems, because PS1 games can technically play in the PS3, so it kind of sort of counts somewhat. Okay, the range on eBay last weekend was $2 to $10. This sucker actually cost $8. So this is the rip-off of the day. The rip-off of the day, too high up the eBay range. I'd rather be in the middle at the most, if not lower. However, 8 versus 10 is a decent spread for eBay minus 20%, which is an ideal price point for people that are not selling video games on the internet. Although I'm just wondering why I couldn't have been eBay minus 20% for maybe the lower end of the scale or something. I don't know. Either way, it's in decent condition and it's black label, but I don't really care about black label, green label. It's too bad all these collectors got to ruin all my video games here because oh no, I might have had to pay an extra $1 because it's black label. Not like the condition's all that great, and I've already done some modifications to the case. This actually is a piece of another jewel case that I used because the front had a few cracks on it. So, but it is black label, although the label's kind of worn. Yeah, that won't help the case any. Anyways, Destruction Derby 2 ripoff of the day. Moving right on down the list, Pinbot, the restoration project waiting to happen. eBay range $1 to $6, actual retail price $2. So this one was actually, and I like this game more than the two Tetrises. So that was pretty good. Although I probably could have gotten a better looking cartridge from JJ's. So quality of inventory is really an issue with these folks. So especially since they obviously just try to flip stuff without cleaning it up, and because they flat price by title, the rattier stuff usually gets left behind, and the better looking stuff sells first. Tetris NES going for 2 to 13 loose cart. This sucker was 3. So nice. Just gotta fix that label. And Tetris 2, notably more expensive, but still kind of in the middle of the eBay range. 2 to 10, actual retail price $6. So yay, got me some more NES stuff to spin around. Oh, spin, it's a cartridge. You can't just talk about spinning discs like that. Who am I kidding? More NES stuff to run in the retro trio, and another PS1 game to reacquaint myself with the bad old days of 360,000 polygons per second, or whatever that was, whatever the PlayStation whatever pitiful number the PlayStation 1 managed to pull off. And for whatever reason, my DS is sitting over here off camera. No idea why. None of the games are over here, but heck with it. So that was what I picked up last weekend, and I got to talk about it, without a big 10-minute long ramble fest before getting to the games. I need to do that more often, and I need to really clean up how these secondhand pickup videos go, and as usual, blockbuster bag. I actually laughed about this when I went to pick these games up. The girl was putting them in the bag, like, oh, what Blockbuster? Would you wholesale those when they went out of business? She was like, yeah, but anyways. Interesting store. What I'm going to be checking out a little later on, there's a flea market reseller in the flea market that I visited last weekend who had some NES carts sitting around. I'm getting a price list together on some of the ones that look interesting. If they're not in too ratty a condition and the prices aren't too insane, I might actually pick some up this Friday before the long weekend. I also have stuff from the e-tailers, from 3 different e-tailers on their way in as well, and having one last hurrah of fun, because after Labor Day I'm tightening the wrench on all of this spending, because I've got seasonal expenses coming up, and the year is not going to end on a good note financially. Gotta buy new snow tires, and with how this summer's been in terms of summer weather being an actual event, unlike the cool summer we've had for most of the summer, I imagine we're probably in for one heck of a winter. So, anywho. This has been Secondhand Schmecondhand Redux, and I can tell just from how this is recorded that this has been a lot better than that disgusting Ramblefest vlog wannabe whatever thing I did last time, so I gotta do more stuff like this. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.